Hi, this is Mike Peterson from Challenge Island, Oakland County East, back with another one of our Steamtastic Fridays. We're in the middle of summer season here at Challenge Island, at least in terms of our videos. It's not quite summer outside yet here in Michigan. But today we're going to talk about the E in STEAM, which stands for engineering. So today we're going to talk about one of the most important engineering innovations that has to do with summer. So to do that, we're going to introduce a character to you named Willis Carrier. So you might have seen his name somewhere before, and we'll explain where that might have been in a second here. But Willis was born back in 1876, which just by coincidence is the same year the telephone was invented. So he was born in New York, and actually when he was growing up at first, he had a little trouble with math and science and things like that. In fact, one thing he had a big challenge with was understanding fractions and how they worked. So one thing he gave a lot of credit to for getting him on the path to engineering was his mom, who took an apple one day, cut it up into halves and quarters and eighths, and helped him understand how fractions worked. And from there on, engineering and math and science started to make a little more sense for him. So he graduated in engineering, started working in about 1901, and the year after he started working, he was only about 26 years old, he figured out how to invent air conditioning. So if we think through the problem of air conditioning, so the challenge with air conditioning is we've got warm air inside a house or someplace like that, and we want to cool it down. So if we want to cool it down, all that heat needs to go somewhere. So we don't want it inside the house. So if there's a way we could get it to go outside the house, then we'd have something going there. So that's basically what he figured out how to do. So here's kind of a simple diagram of how his air conditioning worked. So basically what you have are tubes, and if you look around in your house with some help from mom and dad, you might be able to find these parts at your house. So there's some tubes that run inside the house, those are my blue ones, and some tubes that go outside the house, which are red ones. Now, inside those tubes is what we call refrigerants. There's a very special chemical in there it's pretty easy to heat up and cool down. It's easy to put a lot of pressure on it, take the pressure off it. We can do a lot of cool things with that, with a chemical like that. So what we do is we bring that chemical into the house and we bring it in at a low pressure. So there's not much pressure on it. So when that happens, it's very cold when we first bring it in. So when we bring it into the house and then we run a fan across it, that'll take the air from the house and it'll cool it down. So all that cold refrigerant will kind of take up that heat from that warm air, and now we need to take it somewhere. So then what we do is we take the refrigerant, we pump it back outside the house into what we call the condenser. That's the fancy name for it. So that's a bunch more tubes outside the house. And then what we do is we pressurize it up. So we put it under really high pressure. And when we do that, it gets really, really hot. So it's even hotter than the air outside. So when it runs around outside, it cools back down even more. So it cools back down. We bring it back in, get that pressure off it so it gets really cold again. And we just keep running that over and over again. And that's how air conditioning works. So if you'd like to try to experiment with that a little bit at home, there's a fairly simple way to do that. So what you can do to play around with that a little bit, you just need a little fan, a bowl, and some ice. So if I experiment a little bit here, so if I just say it's a hot day and I'm kind of warm and I want to cool down, I could turn my fan on. That feels pretty good. It's kind of cool, but not very cool. Now what I could do, try taking some ice, put that into a bowl. So this will be kind of like our evaporator in our air conditioner. So this is a lot colder than my regular air coming out of the fan right now. So if I put this next to the fan, turn the fan on again, let it run a little bit so that cool air can start moving around, and now I feel it. Ooh, that feels a lot better. All right, so that's kind of a miniature version of what an air conditioner does. So if you'd like to try that at home, help yourself. One other tip I wanted to give you too is another place air conditioning gets used is in your refrigerator in your house. So in the refrigerator runs a little different though, because the refrigerator is only inside. So what that air conditioner does is it takes the air from inside the refrigerator and brings that heat outside the refrigerator. So if you open your refrigerator and try to cool off, that doesn't do any good because it just lets the hot air in and out of the refrigerator and you're back where you started. So don't try cooling off that way. Just use the air conditioner the way Mr. Carrier decided it should be used. So thanks to that invention, there's all kinds of industries and businesses we can do today that we never would have been able to do without air conditioning. So for example, refrigerated food getting to the grocery store works thanks to air conditioning. Having movie theaters that we can go to in the summer and cool off is because of air conditioning. Even computers run because of air conditioning, because otherwise they get too hot and they wouldn't work so good. So next time you are cooling off a little bit, say a little thanks to Mr. Carrier for coming up with that invention back in 1901. All right, with that, thank you so much for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time.